At what point are we too deep in debt? Well, eventually no one's going to lend us money, but we don't actually know when that point is or where that point is, how much debt that, is it when we're at 30 trillion, then people are going to be like, oh, this is too much. We're not going to, lend money to the United States anymore. Like, we don't know where that point is. And it's extremely complicated, right? If you actually knew the answer, if you knew the point when the dollar's going to crash, obviously then you'd be a trillionaire, right? If you actually knew that. But it's dependent on so many different things. It's not even as simple as, once, we have this secret, which is, we can't pay back our debt. And once other governments realize this, then they're going to sell all our treasuries and we're going to have a financial crash and no one's going to lend to us. No, it could very well be that, the foreign governments who hold our debt, who hold our treasuries, are well aware right now that we're probably not going to be able to pay back our debt. Right? They could know that right now, and that it's, theoretically they should sell their treasuries, but maybe they want to hold on to their treasuries because that gives them leverage over us, right? Because that's true. That is reality, right? China has a lot of leverage over us just as a result of having our treasuries, right? If they were to sell off all their treasuries, they could, cause hyperinflation, which would cause, that would force other nations, other treasury holders and bondholders to sell off all their treasuries, and that would cause all the dollars to come back here and cause hyperinflation. We would see, oh, we've been printing money this whole time. We just haven't had, crazy price increases because the dollars were all overseas, right? That's what that would cause, right? But by holding on to their treasuries, China has some leverage over us, right? And some people have criticized this when they talk about currency manipulation. Right, that's what they're getting at, that, the delicate position that we're in when we have, when overseas they're holding on to our dollars, which could potentially be used to destabilize our economy. Right, but this is the thing, to think that, the Chinese government is doing what's in their people's best interests when it comes to holding on to our treasuries, that's just as faulty as assuming that our own government is doing what's in our interest or even knows what's in our interest, right? Do China have some strategy with our treasuries? I don't know what their strategy is, right? I don't know, what their plan is. Are they trying to, basically, cause their people pain in the short term at our benefit in the short term, but then eventually they'll sabotage us and it will be to their gain? Like, I have no idea. If that's actually their strategy, right? Who knows, right? These are extremely complicated matters. I doubt they even have that specific a strategy, right? Because, it's not like they hold most of our treasuries. It's not like anyone holds most of our treasuries, and what they do with their treasuries is dependent on what other people are doing with their treasuries. I mean, this is just the thing with, the market in general. Whenever it comes to any commodity, any stock, any bonds, it's like it's not just the intrinsic value that matters. It's what other people think the intrinsic value is that matters, right? That's the thing. It's extremely complicated, and you have to remember, this is what's confusing. At any given instant, it's unlikely that the dollars are going to crash, right? So it makes sense for people to basically continue to behave, the same as always, right? To just maintain the status quo, for people to lend us money as if we're always going to have the same credit rating, and for us to continue to spend recklessly as if we're always going to be able to borrow money just as easily as before, right? As if we're always going to have that credit rating, right? So it makes sense for people to try to maintain this status quo. But, does this mean that we can continue to borrow indefinitely? Well, of course not. I mean, this is the problem, right? It seems like, yeah, why not, right? Why not? Right? Because they want to maintain the status quo, right? Well, theoretically, when our interest that we're paying on the debt, exceeds our tax revenue, at that point, then probably some stuff would go down, right? So there's definitely some limits here, right? Definitely there's going to be consequences if we don't cut spending, which we will find out because we won't cut spending, right? This is the thing with democracy, right? I mean, if it was so easy, if having debt is such a simple matter, you just keep racking up debt, like who cares, right? So what did Greece do, right? Obviously it's not quite as simple as the Keynesians like to make it out to be. Like, you just keep spending so that you can grow faster, right? You just keep spending. Like, no, there are going to be consequences, and it's just going to be worse for us when these consequences do hit, right? It's like, people are lending us money. Should we just because we've been able to trick them into lending us money in the in the past, does that mean they're always going to be able to lend us money? What if our debt is like 3 times what our GDP is eventually? Eventually it'll reach that point, right? Are they going to continue to lend us money then? Well, I don't want to find out. I don't want to find out. It seems like a lot of people are perfectly happy to find out, and that's where we're going. So the good news for them. Looks like we will find out just how great the limits are as to how much debt we can hold.